As we prepare for the stock market this week, we have been worried, we've been concerned about a stock market crash and what's going to happen from China's trade war, what's happening with materials, the government shutdown, and now earnings season starts this week. So we have a lot to discuss of what's going to happen this week, where you should start getting bearish on the market, ultimately what you do until then, because if you're not bearish, do you have to be bullish? And then what's going to happen and what could be the tipping point in the market as we go into November? All these things will tack as quickly as possible. Now, the first thing I do want to say right now is just looking at the chart. I'm going to go more into fundamentals in a second, but as we look at SPY's chart, it's very important that we identify where we're at. And I've talked about this a lot. One of the easiest things you can look at right now is since we've been broken back to the upside, we've basically used the 50-day moving average as a clear-cut support here on SPY. But if you go into futures like ES and NASDAQ, it's been even more clear. When you go to like the 4-hour chart, you can see that we're actually touching it as well. So very important to understand that's what's taking place. NASDAQ, a very similar type of move here, as you can see, just grinding above it. So you can clear as day see, like we were holding our said support. And even more recently with everything going on with China and Trump, you're just touching it, finding buyers immediately. So it's important to understand that we're not only just touching support, but we're spending very minimal amounts of time down at support. So what does that mean? Is we get down into those levels of where things could get shaky, or where we've come before, and then pause, and then we're just finding buyers immediately. So sellers can't even attempt to break that point. That's the most important thing right now. But I do want to say fundamentally what's happening. Has anything changed with China? Has anything changed with Trump? It's hard to say so, right? It really is. However, just this morning, it came like 6 hours ago or something like that, like last night at 1 a.m. China says it has irrefutable evidence that the U.S. government conducted cyber attacks against them. So as you read the news, it's Trump saying, oh, we're about to work with them. We have a meeting. We're doing this. We're doing that. And then on the other side of it, China releases new news regarding America doing something against them or something that they don't like. So again, you're getting two sides, and I don't think anyone in here really knows who to believe. And again, it's getting to the point where you don't really trust anything that's getting said out of the White House. And then you also don't want to trust China because they're a communist nation. So it's very skeptical, right? But like I always say, one of the most bearish, one of the most scary things in the market is when there's indecision, right? There's no real stability. No one knows what's going to happen in these circumstances. And right now with China and America, you really don't know what's going to happen. I have said this is like an immovable object meets an immovable force. Very important to understand that, right? And so that's what's happening right now with China and America as we speak. We're restricting all the semiconductors that can go there. We're getting ahead of them on AI. China is like, well, we're not going to give you any materials, and bada bing, bada boom, nothing's been resolved. There's literally been no beneficial talks. The only beneficial thing, I reposted this earlier, but apparently we're seeing some of the tariffs being rolled back right now, which makes you think if we're rolling back some of the tariffs against other countries, that we're looking and getting ready to make a move, and an offensive move against China. If we're trying to soften our other areas and build those relationships, and the tariffs that we're rolling back are all on materials materials, energy, etc., that aren't produced here in the United States. So it's very important to understand that as well. It's specifically things that we need that we are not producing, or mass producing, I should say. So important to understand that as well. That is like the good, but also in my head, and I'm trying not to lean in this with a bearish mindset. I'm trying to look at this. And again, I also want to highlight, I have no shorts. I have no dated shorts. I'm not short on the market. There's no reason to be yet. Okay. So I want to make sure that's really clear when I'm saying any of this. It's not biased based on me making money. It's just what I'm looking at and how I see the market moving in the short term, as well as the medium to longer term as well. Okay. Now, when we go back into this as well, we can go look at what's happening with tariffs or what's happening with earnings. I recommend you follow on Twitter so you can get all these updates. But this is this month's earnings. They're going to come in early into November as well. You can see this week we have Netflix on Tuesday. You have Texas Instruments right here on Tuesday as well. Tesla is going to be on Wednesday. IBM, those are big names. Also, Intel is going to be on Thursday. Not the biggest names, but we're definitely getting into earnings. Obviously, next week will be much bigger. You have most of the Mag 7, Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet, Apple. I think Amazon reports next week also. It's just not on the list right now, but important to know that. So 5 of the big Mag 7 names will all be reporting next week, not this week. So again, we're definitely setting the tone. And it's also, again, we're for some reason, the government shutdown is getting pushed. Like, we're just pushing that aside right now. We're not talking about it. But it was also mentioned from the White House that they expect to start losing around the government should be losing around $15 billion per day due to the shutdown. So Where do we go from there as well? So these are all the things that are kind of in front of us. And if I say those, you wouldn't really think, like if I say, you know, all those things that are happening right now, you know, it sounds like I'm pushing a bearish bad agenda, but I will say the SPY is holding up. As you can see here, the SPY is clear. I mean, the SPY is literally give or take $10 away from all-time highs. Like that is where you're at as the market right now. So that's not bad at all. I mean, if you want to compare and contrast all-time highs to previous all-time highs that were, you know, just broken here in July 2nd, right? You know, you have 50 points of downside to get there and you have $10 to get to all-time highs. So you're still definitely favoring the highs as of right now. And again, it's important to understand where, you know, sellers have to get aggressive and where they really aren't getting aggressive. Because if they're not getting aggressive, then you're not really getting that side of the trade. So very important to understand that, okay? So again, although I have concerns, although I have worries, that's where we're at right now. The last thing I'll go as far as fundamentals is the economic calendar here on the week. Again, we have this on the newsletter as well, so you should be able to get all the most important things. But again, not too much happening here on Monday. Tuesday, really not that big. You have some Fed speakers, Fed Waller. But as we go into Wednesday, things get a little bit more interesting. You have some of the mortgage rate, where we're going to be at there. We can see that any day of the week. Not that big of a deal. But then as you go into Thursday, you get more of your jobless claims, which are very important. The question too is, do we still get this inflation data? Does it still come in due to the federal government being shut down? We'll see what happens there. And then obviously you have CPI supposed to be coming out on Friday. Core CPI should be coming out on Friday. Really weird day for it to come out on, I will say. But again, Michigan expectations as well. The question is how does that data come in at this point? Like, is it going to be skewed? Is it going to be, we'll see what the Fed says. It was one of their concerns. So very important to understand that as well. That's as we go. Again, not till the end of the week, but so definitely at the end of the week, keep your head on a swivel. Very important to know. We just had OPEC this past week, so should be pretty stable as we're looking at that. Now, going into futures, going into SPY and QQQ, what are we looking at? Again, bringing up the levels so you can see them. Go to the 15 minutes, you can see more of that action that's taking place. Now, I try to put big ass arrows on the chart, so if you guys ever have a question of where the most important levels are, you know. And so you can see, obviously, holding that level as of right now. Below 352, I think pain can get crazy. But as of right now, where you're spending most of your time, you can start to hear my son in the background going ballistic. But as of right now, as long as you're really spending most of your time ranging from 665 down to 660. That's where a bulk of your time is spent. A few outliers where you dip below down to 654, 652, or you pop up into 669, 667. Same thing on QQQ. I think this has been a little bit easier to track. As you can see, the lows are around basically 596. A lot of the time below 603, 602, but you had a few outliers into 607 as well. But again, important to see that. And I will say, if you hold above 607 here, I still lean for that upside move. I'll tell you that right now, 100%. So again, you can see this level here that's kind of developed over time. You can see we broke it here. You got immediately strong sell side, but so far kind of just rejecting at this point. So if you can ever get that break, retest, continuation, you're looking for all-time highs, which again is crazy to say, but it's important to understand what to expect if you start seeing these major levels break. So far, sellers have showed up there. Now, the biggest question mark out there for me is really IWM right now. Did you get a false breakout this past week? Big question. The daily candles coming in here aren't amazing. If you're unfamiliar, if you're new to the channel, let me give you a little bit of a backlog here on the weekly chart. You can zoom out. IWM has basically done this like every 4 or 5 years to where you get these massive breakouts, right, of these overall ranges that you're sitting in. You can see going back to 2021, this is a clear-cut range, 242 down to 170, about a 70-point range. When you break out of this, I anticipate pretty aggressive buying and volatility. Giving you for instance, the last time you broke out was here in 2020. Going into 2021, you went ballistic from 170 and all into 240. Before that, your breakout was all the way back here. As you can see, back in 2015, you broke out here. You ended up running towards 175, basically from 120. Before that, you had your 2012 move from basically 86 all the way into 120, and then you end up running a little bit higher. So it's worth mentioning these breaks have been pretty aggressive and a big sign for risk on. And again, if you're unaware, risk on means people looking to deploy their money into the market, not stay in the dollar, not stay in a name like gold or anything along those lines. So really important to understand what's happening there. Okay, so again, those are still going on. Still be watching that. So far, you're kind of rejecting potential kind of trap on their false breakout, but as of right now, that's where you're at. So we're trying to see if you, again, do you break below the 50 MA? Do you see sellers get involved? What actually happens here? Because as of right now, the biggest takeaway that I've seen with everything that's going on, and it's not just IWM, it's not just, one, it's kind of everything, is you're not seeing sellers actually step up. You're not seeing sellers get continuation on on the trade. Like you're just not. And as we go into more equities, you'll kind of notice that, because again, some of your biggest, strongest names are just sitting near all-time highs. And I will say, as we're transitioning there, it's important to understand you're just bouncing. Like, it's the craziest part. Now, before we go too far, go into the equities, I'm looking to trade things like that. If you want to see how we trade, what we trade every single day, the Discord link is down below for futures specifically. You go into Tyler's Zone. Every morning we run down what we're looking for there, the direction of the market, how to plan it out for your day. Then you go into the watch list. Jay goes into the futures as well, but also goes over his top stocks. Then we go to trade ideas for exact entries. Again, the short term right now, I'm not looking to get into any swing trades at all. I've been saying that. Make your money, get out and get out. I'm not looking to do any of that until we get a dip or things get fixed with the government in China. Technicals are all of our scalps, so they're all there for you. So again, you can go check that out. So the Discord link is down below. Again, $30 for the starter plan, $100 for the full access, so you get access to voice chat, all of that. Links down below, check it out. But the first thing we're going to go into is going to actually be Apple. And I will say Apple, before Trump went on his little tangent and about China, was probably one of the best looking breakout names here, getting above 257, 256, trying to push into all-time highs. 260, 260.2. I still think Apple looks really good, and this is probably the most impressive close that we saw on Friday, sitting above 250. If you get back below 250, I think this is in a world of pain, and I think this could be just a false breakout, and so you start breaking back down. That would be really bad. So you want to see Apple hold above 250, preferably, and start getting back to 257. Now, the biggest question mark for me continues to be NVIDIA, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think NVIDIA does not look great. NVIDIA keeps moving into this 184 spot. It was your previous all-time high before we had the breakout here on the 30th of September, basically. Again, it's going to be hard. I keep saying the same thing. If it's very, the support levels, resistance levels typically don't ever change. So it's clear as day. You can see you're coming to that level. You're just rejecting right now. Preferably, what you would like to see, in my opinion, is like a gap up. That's best case scenario. You gap up, retest, and push back up. That'd be the best case scenario. We'll see what happens. But so far, where we're at, you reject here, looking back towards 180, 179. It's been a very simple, very easy trade. One of the things I tell Discord too is, if I signal like a trade out or a trade plan, like I would say I want to see, Monday morning happens. I'm like, okay, guys, I'm looking to go long if NVIDIA breaks above 184, holds a level. I'm looking to go long to 187. Well, that trade will stay the same until Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever NVIDIA breaks back above 184 eventually. Now, again, I'll probably repost or something like that, but it's important to realize I'm doing the same overall trade plan, the same overall trades. I'm not like, okay, guys, new strategy today, boys. No, it's the same things. Like, you're looking for the same signals, the same trades over and over and over, okay? Very important to understand that. So, again, I think you have to go over these big names like Apple, NVIDIA, AVGO, because, again, those are some of your biggest holdings in the NASDAQ. So if they're moving up, yeah, the NASDAQ probably moves up as well, okay? AVGO above 344.5, looking for 356. Below 344.5, looking for 332. Super easy trade, very volatile in this area as well. Definitely be tracking that. Again, Meta, super easy as well. Above 719, looking for 725. Below 719, you're going to just keep rejecting back down to 710. Run it back over and over. Tesla was the trade I was really looking for all week. I traded it a few times. Above 426, back into 439 a few times, like handful. But I want to see the break above 439.5 to start pushing into 445, and then ultimately back into 450. That's what we're really looking for there. The question is just, can we get the buyers there? Tesla looks solid, but I will say be very, 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 very careful with earnings. Very careful. I'll keep you guys posted on how the earnings go, my anticipation, everything like that. I'm not going to trade Tesla or any names going into earnings, so I'm not going to hold any stock overnight into the earnings. That's very stupid in my opinion. The reward does not outweigh the risk in any of these scenarios, so I would steer clear. I do think Apple is the one company ready to have a big beat. I will say their iPhone sales have been nuts, and you're just getting more and more, unless they're just faking us out. So we'll see. But what I'd be looking for right now after earnings, Tesla can get really interesting. Definitely be watching that. Palantir, still really interesting. A lot of people don't like it. Again, I'm not saying start hammering longs on Palantir. I'm just saying watch Palantir. You're holding your 50 MA clear as day, 172. It is trying to turn down. We'll see, right? You get below 169, it's that simple. Go short down to like 160, 156. Easy trade, but there's no reason to go short until you break below 169 on Palantir. Personal opinion for me. Do what you got to do with that one as well. Amazon, dude, this is like one of the weakest names out there. Like, again, from a logical point of view, going long above the 200 SMA makes all the sense in the world. But like, you're just not getting it. Like, you're not finding any buyers here. It's like I said, like, I like it a lot, but I honestly see this probably coming down to 205. I think it's a big buy. If Amazon makes it back down to 190, 200, like, dude, major opportunity. That's one of the biggest buys out there, right? Reminds me a lot of Google. I think they're doing really well with their numbers as well. So I think Amazon's in a really good position. And Netflix, also be watching this. Super. I mean, talk about trading the same name like 100 different ways. I mean, 3 different ways, 100 times, 100 different times. That's been Netflix, right? So Netflix is super simple, right? You start rejecting here at 1200. I think you're looking back down to 1190, 1180. But you can see here on the daily, you got down to 1180 and found buyers once again. You just zoom out, you can see below 1180. Like, dear God, this is bad. 1164, 1144, 200 SMA. Probably what's going to happen. But if you start breaking back above the 1200 point here, you're looking for the 50 MA and you're 1213, then looking back into 1230. So again, just all these stocks are doing, especially like Netflix, they're just trading in their range. And again, this goes back to looking at SPY, like what you're doing. Like, again, I tell people all the time, like you're not going to see me trade stuff overnight with this type of action, because look, I mean, like it's clear as day. Like SPY is going up, then going back down, then going up, and then the next day it gaps down, and then it goes up, and then it gaps back down, and it's just back and forth. So you're not getting that continuation. It's very important to understand that. And the other thing to recognize here, and again, like even though I'm not, crazy bearish, I do think the fundamentals look pretty bad. I mean, you're making lower highs as well, so you have to be concerned about that also. So again, you're just not in this position to where you're looking to hold overnight, get home run trades. That's not what I'm looking for. It's like, make your money, understand where you're at. When you get bigger dips, when you get bigger pullbacks, that's where you look to get more aggressive. If we're looking at an area of the market to where we're just breaking all-time highs and buyers are just going crazy end of the year, I'll probably get pretty aggressive as well. But I think right now you can clearly see you're ranging back and forth, you're making lower highs, and your support's just getting closer and closer. This is a scenario to where, again, like I say, you hit the brakes a little bit. Now, people are mad, like, but Tyler, we've been hitting the brakes for 2 weeks. Well, I'm sorry that the market's trading in a range for a week and a half. Like, what do you want me to do about that, right? So it's important to understand that. It's not about what you want. It's not about what I want. It's about just getting what the market is taking, what's giving you, right? And I think people go into this with the mentality of, again, I got to make all this money every day. It's like, well, if you go with that mentality, you're eventually going to go bust. You're eventually going to have a big L, and those big L's, there's no Uno reverse card. So important to understand and be looking at that, right? AMD is still one of the most bullish names out there. Above 227 looks really good. Below that, I'd be looking for the downside. Intel, not touching this with a 10-foot pole. They haven't increased revenue. Like, maybe they increase it, we'll see. But like, I'm a pessimist, to be totally honest. I'm a pessimist. CRM, I still think this is a buying opportunity between 235 and 224. I think it's a buying opportunity down there, so be watching that. You had a nice gap up from 235, so we'll take it, but that was a deal with OpenAI. Always a little bit scary. TSM breaking back down. This is interesting because TSM is one of the strongest semi names. Definitely looks weaker here at the end of Friday. Again, bigger supports on here at 285, 286. Be looking out for that as well. But you're going to see there's not like a lot of crazy names I'm looking to go long on or a huge fan of. Very important to understand that. The last thing I'll talk about is Donald Trump. So if you guys follow me on Twitter, I jokingly posted this, but it is true, right? It's very true. So I posted this right here. So President Trump thinks the fat loss drugs will be a lot lower in price, hinting that Ozempic, et cetera, is going to lose value, or they're going to make it cheaper, right? So Eli Lilly, Hims are seeing big dips. For me, buying opportunity on Hims is $45 at 200 SMA and then down to 38. 200 SMA is at 45, so you're looking for buyers to hold up there. Eli Lilly, you saw immediate selling here. We talked about this in Discord also. It's like going long to 200 SMA makes logical sense. We'll see what happens here if you start finding more buyers down here or not. If you come back down, if you lose the 200 SMA 785, your next support is going to be down into 50 MA, possibly down to like 770, also 772. So what I'd be looking for there, I'm not looking at any other healthcare names. Those are the ones I like to trade. So again, what I'm looking at, what's on my radar. If you have any questions, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one, traders.